All right, Clay Travis, you like DeSantis. I've interviewed Ron DeSantis. He's an impressive character. He gets stuff done, is his big mantra. He's done a very good job as governor of Florida, no doubt about it. It seems to me DeSantis, I thought he was the best on the debate stage last night, actually, for what it's worth. Yeah. Now, let's take a little look at DeSantis in action last night, actually.
The former president, he's missing in action tonight. He's had a lot to say about that. He should be here explaining his comments to try to say that pro-life protections are somehow a terrible thing.
You know, the problem, Clay, is he's right. Trump should be there. And I know Chris Christie called him Donald Duck, and that's fine. We all have a good laugh. But if you're Donald Trump, you think, why do I have to bother? I'm so far ahead of all of these people. Why do I have to bother turning up to any debate? I've got this in the bag. He's right, isn't he?
Well, yeah, he's right now so far, and that's why the biggest question coming out of this debate, and thanks for having me on, Piers, by the way, is everybody else needs to drop out of the race, but potentially Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, they need to be able to fight it out, figure out who is the unquestioned number two, and then they need to have a head-to-head with Donald Trump. And remember, as crazy as the Democrat process was in 2020, what did they do? Joe Biden got smoked in Iowa. He got crushed in New Hampshire. He left before the vote was even taken in New Hampshire. I think he finished 5th and 6th. And then what happened? James Clyburn, congressman from South Carolina, said all that matters is beating Donald Trump. Joe Biden is the choice. He's our guy, and it was over. The Democrats said, we're going to pick the guy that we believe is the most electable. It's old, boring, plotting, dementia Joe. They may have gotten lucky with COVID happening, honestly, because that allowed them to keep Joe Biden in the basement and not get out, and everybody could see how physically frail and mentally diminished he was. But they made the decision he's the guy that's most likely to win. Think about this, Piers. Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley running against Joe Biden would be an unmitigated disaster for Democrats. And I think what's changed here is a lot of Republicans are so convinced that Joe Biden is going to lose that they aren't even focused on the electability angle as much as they can be.
I think the problem,
but remember,
look, I think
Trump has half of the electorate right now. The other half is for somebody else.
Right. The problem, I think, for your guy, DeSantis, is I think it's a charisma issue. That most people think he's competent, he's done a good job, blah, blah, blah. He just doesn't have anywhere near Trump's charisma. Funny enough, the one with all the charisma on the stage last night is Vivek Ramaswamy. If you could inject that charisma into DeSantis with his experience as governor and success, you probably have a very, very, very compelling candidate. Let's take a look at Vivek.
Transgenderism, especially in kids, is a mental health disorder. We have to acknowledge the truth of that for what it is. Campaign.
On parental rights in schools.
Parents have the right to know. The very people who say that this increases the risk of suicide are also the ones saying that parents don't have the right to know about that increased risk of suicide. And I'm sorry, it is not compassionate to affirm a kid's confusion. That is not compassion, that is cruelty. So I will ban genital mutilation or chemical castration under the age of 18.
So I also want to play now the Christie gag about Donald Duck, because it was funny. Let's take a look at this.
And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight, not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record. You're ducking these things. And let me tell you what's going to happen. You keep doing that, no one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
All right.
Now, you see, he's quite funny, Christie, and he's a bit of an old bruiser. I like him. I've known him a long time, and that was a funny gag. If you combine his humour and kind of pugnacious style with Vivek's energy and dynamism and charisma, with the competence of DeSantis, you've got a very, very strong candidate. The problem is none of them have the other two components. And Trump, in his own way, love him, hate him, think he's the worst thing ever, or the greatest thing since sliced bread, he has it all. And that's why, at the moment, he's steaming ahead.
Yes.
Can I just jump here and make a couple of points?
That's 100%
First
right.
of all,
Yeah, Liz,
I think it's worth noting, when you take a look at a lot of these post-debate polls, though, what you say about Vivek sounds like it's right, but when you look at how voters are actually responding, he's actually coming off very, very negatively to quite a lot of Republican primary voters. So I'm not sure that you're quite right about his charisma. I agree with you that Ron DeSantis does need some sort of charisma injection for sure. I'm not sure that him necessarily borrowing from Christie is the best move, though. I actually thought the Donald Duck line fell a little bit flat. I thought it was a little obvious. I didn't find it particularly humorous. I also do think that DeSantis and Christie need to quit saying that Trump needs to show up at these debates, because one of the really interesting things, and we saw this in 2016 also, when Trump skips debates, other people move up and his floor, the absolute minimum that he's going to get, actually goes down. That happened after the last debate. I bet it's going to happen after this debate.
All right, let me bring in Ben on that.
That does matter.
I agree with you. Ben, here's the issue, it seems to me. Trump could well run away with this Republican nomination. It looks like he might. But if he does, a lot of independents have a problem with Trump. And you've got to win with the independents to become president. And it may be that if Biden insists on running, that the only way the Democrats win that next election is if Trump is the opponent, because the anti-Trump vote comes out, as you know, and the independents don't like him and they won't like all the legal stuff, that actually Trump may steamroller everyone to get the nomination for the Republican Party and then actually lose again.
Yeah, look, I think that there's two things here with Trump. It depends on if he can be a disciplined politician in a general election, and you'll probably laugh at the idea of him being disciplined. But look, he's been pretty smart recently, and I think he's starting to understand that he's got to be smart about how he talks for the same reason that you just said. If he talks about the here and now, and he doesn't take those loaded questions about the past and relitigating the past, and he talks about gas prices and interest rates and the economy and securing the border and building the wall, he will destroy Joe Biden. If he is undisciplined and he goes back and tries to litigate the past and say, I won the last election, he gets bogged down in that, you're right. There's a chance that Joe Biden could win. But Joe Biden will not win because he has the best set of plans for this country or ideas. He is a disaster, a stumbling, falling down disaster.
He would win because he's not Donald Trump. I want to end by getting all of you.
He will also win.
Well, hang on. I've run out of time. Here's what I want to ask all of you. And I need straight answers. I want to have the two names for the two people that will face off in this presidential race next year. I want to have a name of a winner as well. So, Liz, you go first.
That's tough to say. It's really tough to say. Right now, the polling does suggest it's going to be Biden and Trump, but I have this sneaking suspicion that somehow it could end up being somebody like Brian Kemp versus Gavin Newsom or J.B. Pritzker, because I think both of these guys are so old and decrepit.
All right,
and
well, you can't name
they
a load of names.
They might die.
I need two names and a winner. Go on, Liz.
Okay, well, let's go with Newsom and Kemp. And I think in that contest, I think Kemp dusts Newsom, and I'm a happy camper.
Okay. Ben?
I'm just going to go back to reality. I'll bet you seats at Wimbledon because it's on my bucket list, Piers. It's going to be Trump and Biden, and no one else matters.
And who wins?
I think Donald Trump. I think Joe Biden, and what you showed earlier is going to be what you're going to see for the next year and a half.
There's no doubt about that. And by the way, there will be far more added to the greatest hits too. Clay.
Yeah.
Two names and a winner.
All right, I'll give you a fun one. Piers. I think it's going to be Donald Trump. I think the Democrats are going to end up drafting Michelle Obama.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be Trump versus Michelle Obama.
Wow.
And Michelle Obama finds her way into the White House.
She would be amazing. But I don't.
Shoot her into the Democratic debates. Get ready. She'll come in at the convention. I actually, Clay and I agree on this.
She would be great.
I
think she would be great. I actually think she was.
I think Biden is going to get so much worse physically that it's going to be impossible, and they'll have a brokered convention, and they'll have to find somebody new.
Michelle Obama would be formidable. I think a really good candidate. I just don't think she'll ever do it. But we've got to leave it there. We'll find out. Thank you to my pack. I appreciate it.